his plan is to go to war against crypto. And it's going to be an interesting battle because he doesn't have the staff, he doesn't have the army. It's going to be quickly clear that he's going after every American's kids' games, their financial freedom, their ability to participate in financial transactions without a government mediator, which is what most Americans assume freedom means. And until people start to understand that that's what he's going after, is your financial freedom, that's what people need to understand, and that's what they need to communicate to their representatives as soon as possible. And if we can start to talk about it in those terms, and if we can communicate effectively to our elected representatives, there is no way he's going to try and make the entire decentralized finance global industry line up to come into his office to get a license to do business.
Final quick question about crypto, and I want to turn to another subject at the end. Basic question is, if these cryptocurrencies, tokens, were subject to regulation, investor protection, is this basic process of money outside of banks and mediation good for the United States? Is this an aspect of financial development, financial engineering that over the long run will be beneficial for us as an economy, beneficial for investors, or does it give you basic worries?
Let me answer this real quick and then we'll talk about Gary's answer. Economic freedom is absolutely essential to achieving your potential as a human being. This is a fundamental right that United States American citizens absolutely believe in. It is a fundamental freedom of the human condition. So this freedom to interact in financial markets is a fundamental human right. And he's asking here is if doing this is good for Americans. Abso-freaking-lutely it is. No question, no doubt. That's the answer to that question. Is the ability to freely participate in financial markets good for Americans? Yes. So let's see what Gary has to say.
Or does it give you basic worries?
So, and I've said this in the classroom, and I've said it to my colleagues around the globe in the official sector. I think it's been a catalyst for change. Nakamoto-san's innovation, not only Bitcoin as the first sort of one, but this whole distributed ledger technology has been a catalyst for change that around the globe, central banks and the private sector are looking at how we can enhance our payment systems. And enhancing our payment systems to make them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, real time at lower cost.
I want to stop there real quick and point out that what he's saying is that our current financial system cannot do all of these things. It's not 24/7. It's not being able to do this quickly. It's not low cost. Cryptocurrencies can do all of these things. They are also permissionless and trustless, which means that government bureaucrats don't control them. He finds that to be bad. So to continue.
7 days a week, real time at lower cost. And so there's some competition right now going on there. I also think it's raising new and interesting innovations around how exchanges work and how even potentially some forms of decentralized lending. We've had peer-to-peer lending for 15, 20 years. We've experimented with it. This is a new type of experiment. So those, I think, are really interesting innovations challenging the established business models. On the other hand, I would...
So these are, this is what he's kind of admitting here, is this is a challenge to the current business models.
I don't think it's a good idea to wait until there's a spill in aisle 3 and you hear in the loudspeakers overhead from the Washington Post to your competitors, clean up in aisle 3, and then those of us in the official sector have to rush in. And
you've only been there for like 6 months.
And we're sort of like, well, why wasn't anybody worried there was going to be a need for, clean up in aisle 3?
His whole argument here for regulation is that Wall Street greed and Wall Street's inability to not eat itself every 10, 15 years and cause these cleanups on aisle 3 is the reason why he has to clamp down completely and totally and destroy this new competitor to this industry that keeps eating itself every 10 to 15 years. Because it's slow and old and expensive. And access to it, having insider trading is a constant thing. There was a Fed president recently, 2 of them, who were doing insider trading. They had invested in real estate investment trusts, REITs, and then at the Fed meeting, they decided to bail out all the real estate industry. And wow, those trusts did great. And so, and that's what, Gary should be going after, is the systemic risks from these insider corruption in our current system. But instead, he's going after what is a direct competitor to that system with cryptocurrency.
And I think at $2 trillion, 5,000 or 6,000 projects.
It's way, 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 way bigger than that. And it's going to be twice that size next year, which is going to make some of the stuff that he's going to say here in a minute even more ridiculous.
That it would be better to be inside investor, consumer protection, inside the tax compliance and anti-money laundering and financial stability. Now, if we don't do any...
Now, you need to understand what he just said. He expects every single DeFi project in the world to come inside his tent at the United States SEC. Every single one of them. And you have to understand how long that line to get into Gary's office is going to be if this was a requirement. So what you need to understand here, these are the fighting words. What he just said right there. That everyone needs to come inside the tent, come into his office, come on down, we'll talk about it. There's only a few thousand projects out there. There will be 5,000 new projects this next year. There will be 10,000 new projects the year after that. There are projects out there that create the ability for you to create and deploy an entire blockchain using another blockchain's shared security in an afternoon. You can deploy smart contracts by copy and pasting an existing smart contract to 7 different blockchain networks in a week. He's also talking about, and this is one of the things that blows me away about, and this is why I'm trying to do some of this public education stuff. Some of the really most exciting, most interesting things happening right now in the decentralized finance and blockchain universe are NFT gaming things. So NFTs, you may have heard about, we're going to do a whole special on them. It's something that I kind of dismissed early on until I really started to see people applying it and how it could work, and then I was like, okay, that's really neat. And so now there's these games that are coming out, and you buy the tokens on a decentralized exchange, and then you activate things in the game. Similar to how if you play Pokemon Go, you buy tokens in the game, and then you buy stuff. Here would just be the idea that those tokens that you buy in Pokemon Go can also be used in another game. They can be used in Roblox, or they can be used in Minecraft, or they could be used in Fortnite. And the way that they're connected is through a blockchain. Now, if you can't understand immediately how huge this is, and how dumb it is for the idea that every single gaming company, every single NFT project, every single artist out there who wants to sell an NFT through their project is going to get in line to get into Gary's office to get a license from the SEC, it's absolutely absurd and ridiculous. And once you start to understand what he's talking about here, this is actually something that he does think is rational. That everybody's going to come through. They don't have the staff to even start to read all these applications. He won't even release any kind of guidance for what he considers to be a security or not. He doesn't even really seem to acknowledge the concept of decentralization exists. And he's even, as you've seen, reluctant to call them cryptocurrencies. He's the only one who does it because he's kind of with it because, well, they're security currencies. So I just want to be very clear on this. This was it right here. This was the thing. I can play this for you again.
At $2 trillion, 5 or 6,000 projects, that it would be better to be inside investor, consumer protection.
In the United States.
The tax compliance and anti-money laundering.
In the United
Financial
States.
stability. Now, if we don't do anything...
So here comes the warning, right? The warning, oh, what? Like cryptocurrencies could crash by 90% as they have done 5 times? Anybody who's investing in this already knows about this. And one of the things that the liquidity of the market and the lack of the insider trading, although that's not necessarily the case, and we'll talk about that when I'll tell you why you shouldn't day trade crypto.
Now, if we don't do anything, and there's never a spill in I3, great. But I think history tells us private forms of money don't last long.
See, this is one of the most disingenuous things that he says here, because he says private forms of money don't last long. And he knows very, very well that blockchains are public. He knows that. He knows that all the transactions are public. He knows that the explorers are public. He knows that the servers are public. He knows the internet is public. He also knows that these kind of public forms of cryptography-backed currencies are new to the human condition. So he's being very disingenuous once again.
History tells us that investment contracts outside an investment protection remit, people get hurt, that if we have lending platforms that are outside either the securities perimeter or banking perimeter, that usually it gets excess leverage and we have financial stability issues.
They do that within your system, and this is one of the things that people who are aware of cryptocurrencies understand and talk about. He's again being very disingenuous here.
Stable coins are acting almost like poker leverage, and we have financial.
This may be right here the most disingenuous thing he says.
Issues. These stable coins are acting almost like poker chips at the casino right now. So add to the Wild West analogy. I mean, we've got a lot of casinos here in the Wild West, and the poker chip is these stable coins, at the casino gaming tables. And so
All right, hold on. Let me be clear about something. Some people may not know this, but if you've watched a professional sports broadcast over the last couple of years in the United States, you will know that gambling is actually legal here in the United States. So that's one side of that. The other side is stable coins being a gambling. I think he's talking about Tether, and there's some issues with that particular one because of the way that they're doing it. There are other stable coins, and actually you're seeing them grow in popularity because some of the issues involved with Tether as a stable coin. But the idea that stable coins, and this stable coins are something that didn't really exist previously in the last, what you call kind of the halvenings. This has to do with Bitcoin cycle. Anyway, there's great value comes when Bitcoin supply goes down. But stable coins didn't really exist last time. And what stable coins allow you to do in the cryptocurrency world is with these 10 and 15% jumps in the daily market, you are now able to, while staying in the cryptocurrency world, not having to come back into fiat currencies, you're able to say, oh, this coin went from 5 to 20, I'll pull it out at 20, and now I've got this in this kind of cash equivalent stable coin, right? Stable coin, they go back down to 10, now I can buy 10 of them, right? And that was a horrible example. So what stable coins allow you to do is kind of preserve your value while not selling out of the cryptocurrency market and going back in the fiat. They didn't really exist last time, and they are creating a great deal of potential in the market. So this is a little bit about why he's going after crypto. And you'll see here in just a second.
He was SEC chairman. Whether you have concerns about the possibility of contagion in U.S. and international financial markets as a result of what's going on in China, and what steps you've been taking recently to try to protect
this is it right
our
here.
markets and our financial stability in this situation?
We're a highly interconnected global economy. The U.S., only about 4% of the world's people, we're 23 or 4% of the economy, but 38% of the world's capital markets.
That's it right there. 38% of the world's capital markets for 4% of the world's people. Those capital markets are not cryptocurrency markets. They're controlled by the insiders in the U.S. banking industry. Now, here's the thing, right? I mean, Gary is worth like $100 million plus. He made his fortune in that 38% of that money in the U.S. banking industry. I'm pretty sure, and I'd love to ask him, how many, as far as a percentage, right, of the people he associates with got their fortunes as well in the banking industry. And if he indeed has any social contact with anyone who hasn't made a fortune in the banking industry as he has. And this is why, because I'm starting to realize that I actually thought it was good when he was coming in. I thought he would be really good for cryptocurrency, but now it looks like he's going to work very hard to fight against democratizing and decentralizing the banking industry that made him and all of his friends extremely wealthy people. And I think when you think about it like that, it starts to make a great deal of sense why. So we're going to go to our last video that we're looking at here. So here I'm going to cover real quick and why it's so important for him to declare that all cryptocurrency transactions and all cryptocurrencies are in fact securities. Watch this.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. You're describing existing securities and banking laws as being broad. They were painted with a broad brush. You have definitions.
Well, at least the securities laws. At least the securities laws.
Did you catch that? He was talking with this interviewer about the securities laws being very broad, very strong, very powerful. So if he can just declare that all cryptocurrencies are in fact securities, then he gets personal total control of the global cryptocurrency decentralized financial market. They all have to come to Gary's office, as he's about to say.
So my question is a simple one. Do you think you need additional congressional authorization to do what, in your judgment, is required to bring these instruments under better
Doesn't matter what
regulation,
Congress
scrutiny,
does.
transparency, or do you have enough authority given the way the laws are currently written?
I think that we have robust authorities at the Securities and Exchange Commission, and we're going to use them and continue. I think it would be better if the platforms that are trading securities, the platforms that have lending products, who have what's called staking products, and I'm glad to describe that for your listeners, but where you actually put a coin at the platform and you earn a return.
So to be clear, he is talking about every single decentralized application. They all work like this. The way he's talking about them, he's saying they are unquestionably de facto securities. They are all not really decentralized. And I have already complete and total robust authority to go after them. That's what he just said. And so this is why I think this interview and his stance and his inability to define what the SEC thinks is the difference between a currency that is backed by cryptographic algorithms and a security, which is usually a representation of value for something else. Cryptocurrency, security. What's the line? And the SEC won't write that down because once they do, they lose their authority to regulate without new laws. The way it currently works, they can say everything is a security, we have robust authority, we're going after everybody, which he's about to say here in a second.
That they come in and we sort through, figure out how best to get them within the perimeter.
So again, he's saying every single decentralized application, even those with anonymous developers, need to come into his office and set an appointment. And there are 50 that have popped up in the last week. There will be 200 next week. There will be 1,000 in a year. So many of these are built on open source code on GitHub that making a new version is a copy, paste, replace, and then knowing what the hell you're doing to redeploy it. Because again, the front end, the decentralized application, is not the blockchain. It's just a window into it. Gary knows this. And finally, here comes the threat, right? Here comes the stick. There is no carrot. The carrot is you get to continue to exist. The stick
will also be the couple and the bee and bringing those enforcement actions as well. Working with Congress would help because there's a lot of coordination.
Doesn't need it.
By and amongst our financial regulators. I would let the banking regulators speak on their own, but we're working right now under the guidance of Secretary Yellen and working on a report around stable coins.
And now it's clear that this report is going to be extremely biased and probably focus on the business practices of Tether and not the algorithmic stable coins that are also continuing to function despite these crazy market fluctuations, which is in and of itself an incredible technological achievement. Alas, we're about done here.
In the world of stable coins, I do think that there would be some help from Congress. I do think that we can work with Congress with regard to the coordination, again, commodities and securities. But in terms
See, he wants control over this. He knows technically he doesn't have it, but he knows he can probably fake it well enough to do it. If you didn't catch up with all of this, you didn't catch on, these are words of war. And if it wasn't clear from his words there, his plan is to go to war against crypto. And it's going to be an interesting battle because he doesn't have the staff, he doesn't have the army. It's going to be quickly clear that he's going after every American's kids' games, their financial freedom, their ability to participate in financial transactions without a government mediator, which is what most Americans assume freedom means. And until people start to understand that that's what he's going after, is your financial freedom, that's what people need to understand, and that's what they need to communicate to their representatives as soon as possible. And if we can start to talk about it in those terms, and if we can communicate effectively to our elected representatives, there is no way he's going to try and make the entire decentralized finance global industry line up to come into his office to get a license to do business. And with that, I bid you adieu. Hope you have a great day. We'll get back to some technical stuff unless more crazy news happens and I have to deal with that. But next, coming up, we're going to be talking about more fun technical things. So, peace out.